rather than play sport for a living. You know, people might say, oh, you're wasting your talents or something like that, or you know, that's what they're saying to me, you know, you've got these talents, you should make the most of them. But if I'm not enjoying myself, then maybe I should be looking somewhere else.
Curiously enough, the papers have made much of the pressure the media, excluding themselves presumably, have put on Jeff. But the focus, including that at home, does get trying.
I do get a little bit annoyed with all the attention that I do get when I am playing well, because when you start playing badly, they start jumping on you a bit, you know, and a lot of the time they don't seem to realise you're giving everything I've got, and if you don't perform, you know, sometimes it's just not your day.
And tomorrow, Jeff Wilson and the rest of the Otago side hope it will be their day.
The team that handles the pressure, or the player that handles the pressure the most, is usually the one that succeeds. I'm just lucky at the moment. I'm on a bit of a roll and things are going well for me, but they could just as well just go backwards in a couple of days, and that's why cricket's a great leveller. You could be on top one day, the next day you're rock bottom.
Well, there seems to be no end to the list of coaches who'd like to have Jeff Wilson on their team. We've been told even the league scouts have been having a look. Next, we enter a world that was once restricted to the men of God. Open house at the Mission Vineyards in a couple of minutes. Tomorrow evening, the hills above Green Meadows and Hawke's Bay will be filled with the sound of music. The famous Mission Estate Winery is to host Dame Kiri Te Kanawa in her first outdoor performance since the homecoming concerts in 1990. Now, not only does the Mission house the vineyard, but perched in the trees above the winery lies St Mary's Seminary. Until 3 years ago, it was where the country's Catholic priests and Marist brothers were trained. Kerry-Ann Evans with this report from the Mission.
There's a dream I feel, so rare, so real.
Mount St Mary's Seminary at the Mission. Founded in the 1850s, this gracious old building eventually arrived at Green Meadows 3 decades later, forced to move to avoid floods in the lower land of nearby Miani. In those days, the brothers came to grow grapes and to teach the workings of God. Growing up in this part of the world, the Mission always held mystique. Shrouded in trees, there was always a them and us kind of feel, where we knew the people who lived beyond the corridors of the seminary had no interest in our kind of life. To us, they were men wearing funny clothes, making wine, and for a bit of fun, you could head up to the hills and spy on the young trainee priests as they walked the grounds, reading their Bibles. But my, haven't things changed? The sound of restaurant chatter now fills the lunchtime air, and the local Baptist church takes over the Catholic chapel for Sunday service. As a Catholic, do you feel bad about that?
No, I think it's good because the place is being used, and the Baptist community here in Taradale worship at our chapel. I think this is great. Others might get rattled, but it doesn't disturb me.
Brother Martin was trained at the seminary 20 years ago. Now he's back with the Green Meadows Marist community doing his bit for the tourists.
Now, when you're talking wine, you're talking history, which is really my first interest. In the 4th century in Germany, the Benedictine monks were adding egg whites to their red wines. We're doing it today at the Mission in 1993. You see, we haven't changed much.
But for some, the changes have been gigantic. Not everyone's been impressed with the Mission's new open home policy.
Traditional Catholic people always regarded the Mount, as they call it here at Green Meadows, as a sacred place, and perhaps not a commercial place, if you like.
John Kelly is the Mission's numbers man. These days, the calculus is easy. The real estate has to pay.
But the reality of the situation is that things have changed, even in the religious orders, if you like, and we have to be realistic.
The ideal is somewhere between socialism and capitalism.
In good times, Mount St Mary's trained large numbers of students for the priesthood. 1,040 students have been through its doors. 500 have reached ordination. In the 90s, Brother Martin is among the handful of older priests and brothers still at Green Meadows. The trainees now take their vows in Auckland. The job no longer an attractive vocation.
Perhaps people want to be more freer to do other things, more independent, than to be subject to authority. Perhaps the materialistic world out there has affected us.
There's also, as far as the priesthood is concerned, there is the vow of celibacy. Is that a hard one now for many people to look at taking for the rest of their lives?
For some, not for all. And this is what novitiate is all about. The vows of obedience, poverty and chastity are looked at in great detail, and they're worked through.
The brothers that remain still help in the vineyard and winery. Here the link of wine and religion is still strong, as is their commitment to preaching of a life with God.
The mission has 100 acres of grapes, and they bought the land back in the days when money was measured in pounds and pence, and paid £9 an acre. Now we return to the mission on Monday with an exclusive interview with Dame Curry. Now from our 1992 file, the sex change operation. About 6 are performed each year in New Zealand. Health Department statistics don't make a point of boasting them. You'll find them buried in the long list of reconstructive surgery. And the hospitals, the surgical people and the patients prefer, naturally enough, to keep a low profile on it all. But last year, one man came to us, a man preparing to undergo the knife, a man keen for people to understand the trauma of the transsexual. Vicky Wilkinson-Baker in Christchurch with Kim.
In my eyes, we're all equal on this earth. Doesn't matter what sexuality we are or who we are. We've got a right to be here. At 13, I wanted to become, I had the internal feelings of wanting to be a woman, but couldn't go to my parents and say to my parents, look, Mum, Dad, I want to change into a woman.
13 to 37, 24 years of not belonging, neither a man nor a woman.
Do you feel that your face is feminine?
Yes, I do. I'm not worried about what anyone thinks out in public of me. I am human, I'm like everybody else, and it takes great courage to be able to stand out in public and say, yes, I am what I am, and I'm proud of it.
As a teenager, the signs were there. Kim was not conforming. The boy from Christchurch was wearing nail polish, taking hormones, and cross-dressing.
How do you feel about, like, the facial hair and the receding hairline? Does that bother you?
The facial hair possibly will go away, but it'll take a long time.
Kim is about to undergo an operation that'll make most men cringe.
It's not going to solve all my problems, right? But it is going to solve a problem of looking down and thinking to myself, wow, at last I've been set free.
Two psychiatrists must agree Kim will be better off after the operation. He has to be living as a woman for 2 years and be on hormone treatment. Kim met the criteria.
I've been through the process with psychiatrists, the surgeons and doctors, and there is no running out now.
And you know that once you have the operation, that's irreversible?
It cannot be stitched on again. It's gone, and it should have been thrown out in the rubbish years ago. At last.
The operation is a major one, taking up to 5 hours, costing around $10,000.
We couldn't film the operation. The 3 surgeons involved didn't want to be part of our story. They did not want to be identified. And as far as the hospital is concerned, we were able to do some filming, but only on the condition that it too remain unidentified.
There is still a stigma attached to it, both within the medical profession and in the community. It is still very difficult for a lot of people to understand that someone can be externally one sex, but internally another.
Just a few days after going under the knife, Kim is receiving visitors.
Oh, really good. The moment I was pushed out of that theatre was the happiest day of my life.
An 8-inch scar across the stomach is testimony to the major reconstructive surgery done inside.
It's a radical procedure, and there's no reversal. And even with very careful selection, there's a rate of around 30% of patients who have significant regrets about having undergone the procedure.
No regrets?
Should have been done years ago.
go, Kim. 1 week and 1 day later. A new person.
You feel happy, glad to be home.
The decision to live as a woman was made years ago. The operation, a formality. She'll take hormones for the rest of her life. Her status legally will remain male. The first 37 years haven't been easy. The next will bring their challenges as well.
Not rushing into anything, just like where I left off, the shopping, doing my bits and pieces around the house, but not overdoing it.
Some who would be fairly readily recognised as being originally male and so forth, and they would therefore be the butt of a lot of hostility.
Now, everyone would expect you to be now looking for Mr. Right.
Yeah, quite true, quite true. But unfortunately, and sadly to say, I'm woman attracted and want a woman-to-woman relationship. And if Miss Right does come along, it'll be a woman-to-woman marriage.
Well, we understand today Kim is a happy woman, pleased she underwent the surgery. What we don't know is if Kim has been able to find Miss Right. That's Holmes this week.